Everyone. This lesson is going to be about the volume of a cylinder. Okay, so already looked at volume of general prisms in the last lesson, so volume of cuboids and triangular prisms. Okay, and we did briefly discuss what a cylinder was. I said we'd do a normal lesson on it, like a whole lesson. Okay, so like we discussed yesterday, prisms are 3D shape, all right, with the same cross section all the way through, all right, and then we already said this one here is a cylinder. Okay, so done those two already yesterday. All right, so remember that the same cross section just means for a cylinder. So remember I said yesterday, if you imagine a Pringles can, okay, the circle at the top, so imagine the lid of a Pringles can, the little plastic bit you take off. If you cut the tube or the can anywhere through, you're going to get that same circle. Okay, so this shaded or this yellow circle is the same circle all the way through the shape. Okay, so we've already written this down yesterday if you've watched that video. All right, so to find the volume of any prism, you do the area of the cross section first, okay, which in today's case is going to be a circle. Then you times that by the length or the height, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so that shaded section there is a circle, okay, and we should have already recapped how to do the area of the circle when you did the consolidation sheet at the start of this week. Okay, so just to remind you, to do the area of a circle, so after I've written this down, it's worth you writing it down as well, so maybe pause the video and write it down. It's always pi times by the radius squared, so pi times r squared. Okay, so the radius, just to remind you, is the distance from the middle of the circle to the edge of the circle. Okay, so the only thing about watch out for in these questions is sometimes you'll get given that radius. Okay, sometimes you might get given the diameter, which is the one that goes all the way across, so you'd have to halve it first. All right, and for the next few lessons, all right, that we use pi, or whenever we use pi at the moment, we're going to use the number 3.14. Okay, it's actually a much longer number, and it just keeps on going, but easier to use 3.14. Okay, so I'm just going to get going with the examples then. So pause the video here and copy that example down, and then press play when you're ready. Okay, welcome back. So volume of this prism, okay, it's a cylinder. So all we need to do is the area of this flat circle at the top, and because it's a prism, we know that that circle is the same all the way through. Okay, so we're always doing the area of the cross section, which in this case is a circle, times by the length, or you might prefer to call it the height. All right, so area of the circle first, we know is pi r squared. Yeah, pi times by the radius squared. So pi is always going to be 3.14. We already know that. And we're timesing it by r squared. So you just got to look at the question and decide whether in the question you're given the radius or whether you're given the diameter. Okay, so remember, radius is from the middle to the edge, diameter is all the way across. So you should clearly be able to see that in this question, that's the middle, so this distance of 4 centimeters is the radius. Okay, so this is 4 squared. All right, now this is common sense. It should be obvious to everyone. We've done it enough, but please don't change that to 3.14 times by 8, because 4 squared doesn't mean 4 times 2, does it? It means 4 times 4. Okay, so really this is 3.14 times by 16. All right, and we're smart enough to be able to do that in the box method. Yeah, change the 3.14 to 314, times that by 16 using the box method, and then change it back into a decimal afterwards. Okay, so that should give us 50.24 once you've worked that out anyway. Okay, but that was area at the moment on this, that's centimeters squared. So that's that part done. Look, area of the circle. So the area of that circle is 50.24 centimeters squared. All right. We know now, we can see from the diagram, that the height of this cylinder is 12 centimeters. So that area of 50.24 is the same all the way through. Okay. So for the volume, we're going to do 50.24 times by 12. All right, and again, change the 50.24 into a whole number, so times it by 100, do the box method, change it back. Okay, so 50.24 times by 12 is 602.88. All right, the units are in centimeters. We're doing volume, so as we discussed yesterday, volume is always cubed, isn't it? Yeah. So find the area of the circle first. Once you know the area of the circle, times it by the height or the length of the cylinder. So we've done both of those things now. The volume of that cylinder is 602.88 centimeters cubed. Okay. Moving on, similar thing with this one then. So it's still a cylinder. We're still going to do the same thing. So area of the circle first, times by the height afterwards. So area of the circle, I'm going to write it down again. I want you to keep writing it down. The more you write it down, the more likely you are to remember. Okay, so we know that pi is 3.14. If we look at this question now, okay, all the way across here, that's the diameter. All right, that line in the circle goes all the way across. All right, and we're just working the area of this circle out at the moment. Okay, so if the diameter, so from one side to the other, going through the middle, is 16, that means the radius must be 8. Yeah, because remember the radius is half of the diameter. So we should be doing 3.14 times by 8 squared. Okay, again, that's not 3.14 times 16, is it? 8 squared is not 16. Okay, 8 squared means 8 times 8. So 64. So 3.14 times by 64. Okay. Again, if you want to challenge yourself, which you should be, then don't use a calculator, just work it out using the box method. All right, you should get 200.96 power. All right, this time it's in meters. That's meters squared because that's still area at the moment, isn't it? Yeah, so that's that part then. Area of a circle, area of that circle, sorry, is 200.96 meters squared. Now we can see from the diagram, okay, the height is 20 meters, so that circle is the same all the way through. So for the volume, we're going to do 200.96 multiplied by the height, which is 20. Okay, and again, even with that one, don't need to use a calculator. Do 200.96 times by 2, so double it, and then times by 10. Or the other way around, whatever, but 200.96 times by 20, I think, is 4,019.2. Okay, units, meters, cubed. That's it. That's the final answer. Okay, we've done the two things that we know that we should be doing. So we've done the area of the circle first, then we've done the height. Right, I'm just going to do one more with you quickly. It's on the side this time, but it's exactly the same thing. Okay, so we're still going to do area of the circle multiplied by the height or the length, whatever you want to call it. So the circle is here this time. We're going to do the area of that circle, and we're going to times it by the length. So area of a circle we know is pi r squared, pi is 3.14. The radius this time, okay, the diameter in the question, so from one side to the other, the diameter is 15, sorry, so the radius must be 7.5. So 3.14 times 7.5 squared. All right, again, if you want to challenge yourself, which I hope a lot of you do, then try and do that without your calculator. Okay, you're a little bit unsure. Type it into your phone if you haven't got your calculator on you. So 7.5 squared is 56.25. All right, so 3.14 times 56.25 is 176.625. All right, millimeters squared this time. Don't worry about rounding. just leave it as it is, unless the question tells you otherwise, which it doesn't in this case. Okay, so that's the area. The volume now is 176.625. All right, that's the area of this circle. It's the same all the way through the shape. So we times that by 15. And again, if you want to challenge yourself, do it without your calculator. So that is 2649.375. This time the units are millimeters. So the final answer for the volume, millimeters cubed. All right, we've done both of those things. Okay, so pause the video here then and have a go at these questions. Okay, and like I've said, for some of those, then some of these numbers work out a little bit easier than the examples actually. So try and do these without using your calculator. So using the box method to practice those skills. Okay, if you're a little bit unsure, then you can use calculators if you want. I prefer you not to, and it'd be better for you if you didn't also. Okay, so pause the video, have a go. And press play when you're ready for the answers. Okay. All right, welcome back then. So the answers for each of the questions should be here then. Okay, the one in particular to watch out for is question F, because these units here look are in millimeters, these units are in centimeters. Okay, so I've done two different answers. I've done one answer using millimeters. Okay, so I changed this into 40 millimeters, and that gave me this answer. And I've done one in centimeters as well, look, where I've changed this into 3 centimeters. So I've used that one and that one to get that answer. And I've used that one and that one to get that answer. All right, then hopefully I got enough time left in this video just to quickly go through the checking question review as well. So pause the video, copy the diagram down, have a go at it, press play when you're ready to go through it. All right, so this one's working backwards a little bit. It says the volume of the cylinder is 300 centimeters cubed, calculate the radius. Okay, the radius has been labeled as R here. So we already know that the volume of this cylinder is always the area of the circle times by the height. Okay, we know the height in the question is 10. Right, we don't know the area of the circle, but we're smart enough to work it out, no doubt. All right, so we're saying that pi times by r squared, so pi times r squared, then times by 10, because that's what the height is, equals 300. Okay, because I'm telling you in the question now that the volume is 300. So it's like working backwards a little bit. Okay, we also know the pi is 3.14, isn't it? So 3.14 times r squared times 10 equals 300. So make this a little bit easier now. This is r squared, and 3.14 times by 10 is 31.4. So r squared times 31.4 equals 300. And we're going to work backwards from there then to work out what r is. Okay, so here it says times by 31.4. So we're going to do the opposite. We're going to divide by 31.4. Okay, so r squared is 300 divided by 31.4. So you need a calculator for this one, all right? Just type it in your phones if you haven't got one. So 300 divided by 31.4. Okay, it comes out as 9.55 and so on. Okay. So most people would stop there, but I haven't asked you to work out the radius squared, have I? I've asked you just to work out the radius. So from there, you need to think about what you would do next. So think about what is the opposite of squaring something. Okay, and hopefully you know that that's the square root. Okay, so if I want to find what r is, and I know what r squared is, I just do the square root. Okay, so r should be the square root of the 9.55 and so on, whatever came in your calculator, basically. Okay, so if you type that in, then I've got 3.1, because it comes out as 3.09, so 3.1 centimeters to 1 decimal place. All right. So that's just working backwards a little bit. And if you can answer a question like that, then that proves that you understand the formula and how it works in terms of working out the volume. Okay, so just working backwards.